Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's bootcamp session on workflow, mastering, task and deadline management. It is 2 o'clock, so I will make a start. These sessions are going to be 20 minutes in duration, and we hope to get through most of the content within the first 15 minutes and allow time for question answers towards the end. That said, if you have got any questions that you want to ask, please do pop them in the Q&A function. You'll see this at the top of your screen next to the chat. Similarly, you can pop your questions in the chat as well, should you wish to. I will just share my screen in one moment. But before we get going, I just want to let you know, as I said, this is interactive, so please do ask questions as we go along. And I'll try and get to those throughout the session. If not, we will do a roundup of those at the end. Everybody on the call will typically have a workflow license already. It's not a problem if you don't, that's no problem at all. And obviously those with a workflow license currently active, we will have varying degrees of knowledge and use across the board. So this is going to be sort of a general best practice session where we have a look at creating a workflow and then actually rolling it out on an individual basis, and also our bulk creation feature that we've got. We'll have a look at work management and also the client record and active work and dashboards as well. So there's a lot of content to get through, so I will share my screen and we will get started. Just a second, I think I just need to invite somebody in. There we go, perfect. So if I share my screen, we can get started. Lovely. So to begin with, we're just going to walk through the different types of tasks we've got available in the system. So I'm going to start off in the admin center and workflow specifically. So for those of you familiar with the system, you will go into Admin Center, open applications and navigate to workflow. From here, we're going to go to our job templates, and from our job template screen, we can create workflow job templates and also checklist job templates. So checklist job templates are really useful for the likes of an onboarding checklist, where you've got a series of tasks that need to be completed, but it doesn't matter in what order they are completed in. It's just basically a replica of a tick list we may hold in Excel or something, and we want to then store that in TaxCalc rather than having it in multiple locations. So I'll just open my example of an onboarding checklist, just to give you an idea of how that works. We just give each separate task its own line, and when we roll this out to a client, when we've completed any tasks, we just simply tick in the box that we've completed, and that would update that job to say it is 2 out of 7 tasks completed, for instance. It doesn't matter what order we complete these in, it can be completed in any order we wish. From a job settings perspective, we can automate some of the settings. So if it's an annual task that we want it to occur, we can set that feature up within the job settings, and we can also give it defined start and due dates. For client onboarding, I typically recommend leaving that as custom for both of those, because obviously we don't know when we'll be onboarding new clients, and that time frame will vary from person to person. So that's our first option we have with regards to sorts of tasks we can have within workflow. The most popular and one that we're going to spend the most time in today is, of course, the workflow approach. So if we open this annual accounts example I have created for this example, within here, we again set the job settings up. So this is the overarching rules for the accounts job. Tasks, which we'll go into in a moment, is where we break the process down into the individual steps in the process and get more defined and detailed in our approach. So job is just that overview that we want to set up. We give it an assignee, so that could be, in this instance, the portfolio manager. So whoever is responsible for that set of clients is responsible for the completion of their annual accounts. It could perhaps be an accounts manager or a named individual or team for that matter. Because it is an annual accounts task, we do want it to occur on job completion, so we must ensure there is a tick in this box. If we were looking at a workflow template for another activity type, so VAT, for example, we'd be able to vary that recurrence and change that to quarterly or monthly, whatever was suitable for that activity type. In the instance of an annual accounts job, we're going to use the client work to set dates. Now, it's really, really important from a setup perspective when you're bringing your clients in and making sure that your client records are fully completed, that within the company information page of your client record, you have company year end and confirmation statement dates input. That way, when we roll this job template out, the system can reference that client record, see what usual year end it is that it needs to pick up, and then populate these timeframes based on that usual year end date. I've kept this example really straightforward. This job starts at the usual year end, and its deadline and due date is also the statutory deadline, so that 9 months after year end. I can tweak this so it's customizable to your practice. So if you host a pre-year end client meeting, for instance, and you want that to be the first task in your process, we could amend that to be minus a month, for example. Similarly, if you know that you don't start your usual year end, your annual accounts work, at the usual year end, there's always a month or so before you get started with that work, you could increase that to 1 month after usual year end. So within this setup here, we can use a template that TaxCalc provides, but we then can customize it to be to suit the needs of your individual practice. Okay. Deadline date, I'd keep at statutory deadline, and then that due date again works in the same way as we were looking at from that start date. If you've got an internal KPI that all your statutory annual accounts have to be completed 6 months after the usual year end, we could amend that due date to be reflective of that KPI. Yeah, I will just reset that to statutory deadline 0 days just for this example. And then we continue through and we break that annual accounts job into specific tasks. So I've kept this one to an 8-task process, nice and straightforward. And the process is quite streamlined. So we send a year-end reminder to the client, we mark that the records have been received. Once they've been received, we're ready to prepare the accounts. Once they've been prepared, they go to the next person for review. Once we're happy that they've been reviewed and are finalised, we send them to the client for approval, receive them back from the client, file them at company's house, and have final contact with the client, which involves sending their bill, for instance. We always say there's a four-pronged attack to creating a job template. So we've completed the first one, which is defining those individual stages. The next stage is to allocate each of these separate tasks to who is responsible for that job, that task, So in this example, I've got a record request team and a record receive team. So they're going to have their dashboard set up so that any record requests they need to send, they get notified of. And when they receive the records, they can mark that off as well. We can also set up custom user roles. So it might be that you have several members of staff who could be responsible for preparing accounts. Those individual members of staff, may have been predetermined at the start of the year. In the client record, we can set a custom field as an accounts preparer, and then we can allocate which member of the team is assigned to which client in the system. we'll have a look at that just after we've been through this, in case it's something you're looking to set up following this session. We'll also look at how we can set up a team if time allows. So yeah, we just run through the process and assign each task to the relevant person or people. We then set a time frame for the completion of each of those individual tasks. So you'll see that all of my start dates are based on the task completion previous. So that means the previous task needs to be completed in order to trigger the next task. So it is working in a workflow capacity. One trigger knocks another trigger into play. And then we set how long we need each person to take to complete that task. The final part of the process, so we've done our process, we've allocated the work, we've also set a time frame for each individual task. The final part is adding in view task automation. So if we look at this nice straightforward one, what we're doing is we're setting status names, or status terms, sorry, that we want to be able to see on a report based on where the job is in the process. So this example here is quite nice, that when we have completed this records received task and we've changed its status from planned to completed, the status of that is of the job and the task is going to change to records received. As you can see here, there are a number of default statuses that you can have and choose from within the automation part of the job template, but you can also customize these and make them match your own internal references. So if records received isn't terminology you use on a regular basis, you would change that to information sent by client, for instance, and there is that flexibility in the system. So if I save and close out of this, I just want to show you where we would do those certain activities. So I'm not going to save that because I don't need to. To amend work item statuses, so I said if you wanted to customise that records received one, we'd go into, we're still in workflow, sorry, we would go into work item status, choose accounts because that is the template that I was working on. And within here, we've got these padlocked ones, which we saw featured in that list. Alternatively, we can create a status and then call this information sent by client. Save that, and that's added to my list there. Finish that one. Equally, we've got that custom fields that I mentioned where we could have a accounts preparer role set up, and it's within this custom fields area within workflow that we can create that custom field. To do that, we click create field. I select what page I want that to be displayed on. So if we choose the engagement page, and I've already got an accounts preparer, so I'm going to call this accounts manager in this example. Get the field and label. And this time we would change the field type from text to users. And that would allow us to choose the users that were in our practice who fit that account manager perspective. So if I just select Phil, Danny, and Nick in this example, save. It's added it in here, as you can see, accounts manager. If I now finish and save, when we go into the client record in just a moment, we'll be able to see that populated. The final thing that I referenced with regards to job templates was the ability to set up a team. That's done within Admin Centre and Teams. We don't need to go into applications. Teams, I've got already set up here. If there was a new team you wanted to create, we'd simply select new team, give it a name, and then select which members of the staff I wanted to form that team. If we now look at that from a client record perspective, if we go into Imperial, for example, if I now go to my engagement tab, you can see here I've got that accounts manager, custom user, custom field just set up. And from here, I can then select one of those 3 users as to who is the accounts manager for that client. Whilst we're in here, I'll also just reference where we store that company information with regards to confirmation statement date and usual year end. And that is the information that's going to pick up in the system. Now, conscious of time, so we're just going to have a look at how we would roll that job template out for a specific client. So I know Imperial already has one set up, so we'll go to viewpoint instead. So we can do this on an individual client basis, and what we do is check the usual year end. So we've got an October year end, and then I'll go to active work, and this is where we can create that job template. Going to press this create button, and it's going to ask me whether I want to create a job or bulk create jobs. In this instance, and when we're doing it for an individual client, we're going to use this create job function. And then we're going to walk through these different pages and we're going to roll out the job. So yes, I would like to use a template. I'm going to search for the annual accounts one that I had set up prior to the session. And then I'm going to continue through. I'm in Viewpoint Accountants Limited client record, so it knows that that is who I want to set the work up for. I do already have the period set up for last year, but if the period wasn't there, I can create work, and it's automatically suggesting that I want to create the 24-25 accounting period, which I want to do. So I'm going to press create. Sure, I've got that selected, and as you can see here, the work item status is set to not started. If I continue through, I can skip through this page. I can then see, based on the dates that are populated within the system, that is ready for me to roll out. I press finish, and that is my job rolled out. We can view this from the work management screen too. So this is giving us an overarching view of everything held in the system. If I go to the filter options on the left-hand side, I can filter by different options. What I'm interested in here is my annual accounts and all dates. As you can see here, you've got that viewpoint one listed here. You can also see where our different jobs are at. So these have all been sent to the client, the rest have been not started. If I just expand that view a bit better, you can also see statutory deadline, status, and so forth. So work management is a really great view for that information, in addition to that client view in active work. The final area that we may want to view our tasks in is the dashboard view. Mine's a demo dashboard, so yours would be a lot cleaner than this. But as you can see, as an absolute minimum, when I look at my dashboard, this is the widget you're going to want to have populated in dashboards, and that is tasks assigned to me. And this is going to show you any tasks that have been assigned to you as part of a job or a workflow template. To complete these, we simply select the relevant row. We can right click, update task, and change that task status from planned to completed. Once I've done that, I would update and it falls off my task list because I've completed it. If we're looking at it from a team perspective, we would then be able to see it move from one person to another. So if I look at this confirmation statement example, I can update this, change it from planned to completed. I'll just check it's going, it's not going to go, I'm going to just pop it to Danny. I'll update this, it's going to fall off Callum's task list. And if I refresh, we've got this CS01 task here for Danny to complete. So I said it was going to be a quick run through. We are at that 20 minutes. I haven't got any questions in the chat function, and I don't appear to have any questions in the question box either. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to pop them in the question and answer box now, and we can try and answer them with a couple of minutes to spare. Alternatively, if you would like additional information with regards to anything that was covered in this session, please do reach out to your account manager and they can assist you further with your question. And yet, Sunil, you've just asked a great question about whether you can have access to the recording. You will, absolutely. This has been recorded. So this week you will receive a copy of that recording for you to reference, and hopefully you can slow it down and follow it as you go to replicate your own job templates in your own systems. We do offer consultancy and training as part of the service here at TaxCalc. Again, if you are interested in a little bit of support with rolling out your work templates or reviewing existing templates, if you speak to your account manager, they'll be able to provide further information about that and potentially get that booked in with myself or another one of the professional services team. Just there is one question that's popped into the chat. I will add I will answer that one, so thank you. How much detail do you need in each client to use the templates? So as an absolute minimum, you must have if it's an accounts job, their usual year-end date. If it's a confirmation statement, job template, that date. If it's a VAT return, job template you're wanting to create, you need to have set their VAT period and VAT period end. Other than that, you don't need anything specific, because you can also use the workflows for non-TaxCalc related work as well. So yeah, as long as they've got a client record, you should be fine to get up and running with it. Okay. And I think I've got one other question. Is there a way of viewing old jobs that have been completed after a new job has been created? Yes, absolutely. So you can do that from within the individual client record, Karen, in active work, or you can do it within the work management screen. If you go to work management here, one of the filters at the bottom here, you see at the bottom, is show jobs or tasks that have been completed. And that would then give you visibility of any previous jobs. And that same filter is available in here, client's record, and here you would say, show me completed tasks as well. That's everything for today's session. If there is any more information that you require, please reach out to your account manager. And as I previously said, the recording will be sent out to you later this week. Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you have all managed to take a nugget of information away with you. Take care and see you all soon. Bye.